Welcome to Epilogue Podcast, the show where we discuss some stuff that happened on a different show ages ago which nobody really cares about anymore.
Hi, I'm Portponky.
And I'm LeBloc.
Today, we're discussing Farscape, Season 3, Episode 16, Revenging Angel. Dargo's ship almost self-destructs, whilst John is trapped inside a cartoon maze of emotions inside his own mind.
John gets trapped in his own mind a lot.
It's a running theme. This seems like it's building upon that idea because of Harvey. Like they're leaning on it a little bit.
It makes sense. You can't explore Harvey that much without being inside John's head. He can appear in John's world, but it probably works better inside John's head. Yes, they are using it a lot, leaning on it, but this is mostly for fun, and I really enjoyed it.
So, are you a fan of this episode?
Yes, this is a comedy episode with stakes and character reveals. It's not just fluff.
Okay, I thought you would like this one because I have a theory.
Okay, I want to hear your theory.
Also known as a hypothesis. Well, you didn't like Scratch and Sniff.
Remind me which one that is.
The weird music video-esque one where they go to the party planet.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Everyone I've talked about Farscape either likes Scratch and Sniff or likes Revenging Angel.
Never both.
I like Scratch and Sniff, and I'm kind of lukewarm on this one. I'd like it. I wouldn't say I hate this episode. I was never into these cartoons much when I was young, so maybe that's why I'm not the biggest fan of this one. I really like what they did, or what they tried to do.
I don't have a whole lot of nostalgia for that era of cartoons. I did watch a lot of it, but I was more into the commitment to the gag and that they actually did it more than just, oh, hey, they're referencing things I know. I recognized a lot of the gags. Oh, okay, I've seen Wile E. Coyote do that and fail in that exact way, but it wasn't the recognition that I liked. I just appreciated doing something different and going all in with it.
I like the mix of cartoon stuff and then real stuff with cartoon physics.
I loved John holding a giant pencil.
That was good. I did like this episode. I maybe sounded quite negative there, but I think people favor one as quite inspired, and the other is kind of just okay, or a laugh, or fun, or something. So I thought you would like this one, and I'm right. My hypothesis
You know me too
is now
well.
a theory.
I do have problems with this episode, but not enough to make me turn on it.
Ooh, okay. Is the problem that it's John just pegged it previously, so
That is a big thing, yeah. You're
Yeah.
not going to convince me that this John is about to die when we just had a John dying scene.
that could be solved with episode ordering almost, but there's stuff in here which fits in very well. Oh, when he's talking to Aaron, cartoon Aaron.
Oh, I really like that scene because he's so worried about, is John getting it on with Aaron and developing a relationship, not realizing that John is dead and how sad that is.
That works very well. This episode is very dark. Even by Farscape standards. And we've had a lot of episodes which are quite bleak, but I really find this one very bleak.
There was the possibility that they all die, so that's pretty bleak.
It's not a realistic possibility, though. When Pilot's talking about them going to a specific part of the ship, which he's going to jettison, I think that's what makes it really bleak for me. Just how
That
miserable and resigned they all are.
right, the option he gives isn't even a very good one. Go do this, and maybe you'll survive for a couple days.
They easily accept that as plan B. They've got the A plan is to fix it, but the B plan is just, we're gonna jettison in a broken piece of Leviathan.
That's a really smart choice. That, okay, our other option is this thing that probably won't work. Instead of talking about a surefire way to escape and ditch Pilot and Moya.
This points out that they have no escape pods or anything. I suppose they can usually fly away on the transports.
Moya doesn't have a lot of friends, so she? Is Moya she?
Yeah, she had a baby.
Well, so that happens.
Sperm went into her. She had a baby. What more do you need?
There are examples in nature of men being pregnant. Isn't that how seahorses work? I don't know.
Kinda.
Anyway, she doesn't like having people leave her. She has abandonment issues, so she got rid of her escape pods. She shed them.
Living creatures don't usually have escape pods. You don't need to justify them not existing.
But I want to. Moya is atypical. This episode has the dreaded pointless slow-mo.
It was really cool. They're getting much better at picking what to slow-mo.
I can't tell if you're joking.
No, I really loved it when they were throwing the sword from person to person.
Oh, I was thinking when Dargo initially throws the sword down into the bat poop.
Was that slow motion? I didn't
It was.
notice. Oh, yeah, okay.
And it really annoyed me because I don't like that scene. Why did he just rage out and throw his sword? That's not something he's done before. And it was clearly just so the sword would be lost when they needed it.
He has raged out before.
It felt so forced in that instance, though.
I can't accept that, yeah. It seemed okay to me, but I can see why you would say that. You're not wrong. He asks everyone in his dream how he should deal with Dargo, and they all give different answers. Except they don't actually all give different answers.
What do you mean?
Chiana agrees with Scorpius, or Harvey. Speaking of Chiana, did you notice anything odd?
No. Wait, her hair seemed different to me.
Okay, way off the mark.
Alright, never mind.
No, she did it in a few episodes ago, and she said something in this episode.
She referred to Jewel as kid or children.
I can tell you if you want.
Okay, go for it. It's already happened, so it's not spoiling.
She said Jewel should watch her head from the metal.
Oh, and then she said, "Oh, I don't know. I just kind of knew."
She did this in Scratch and Sniff, where she said, "Watch your head, John," and then the guy kicks him in the head with a punch.
I don't remember that, but I think I'm blocking out that episode.
I can't remember what attack it was. Jewel is a scientist, but she's very silly.
Scientists can be silly. They're not resigned to the scientist archetype.
She's very silly, though. Pilot explains that the bat droppings are used symbiotically. She says, "Get rid of the bats."
That stuff smells, it stinks, and it stains. Get rid of it.
It stops air leaking out into space. They need air.
Surely they have technology to do that.
That's the technology.
Other technology that doesn't smell as bad.
It's a tried and tested system. Don't knock it.
It doesn't even make sense. So only leakage in that one area at the bottom? That's the only
Well,
place they have to worry about it?
Presumably gets pumped around.
Okay. That's just the reservoir for the leftover.
Well, it's the source reservoir.
Okay.
Some kind of ecosystem on Moya.
So there's excess guano. They could at least reduce it.
How do you know if there's excess or not? They might use loads of it.
She was wading through it up to her waist.
Moya's big, though. She's huge. What does Moya eat?
Bat poop.
No, that's not a...
Nutritious.
It has to be something... It has to be something that's not a closed system. She exerts energy in space to travel around, so she must be gaining energy from somewhere. And if they have bats living on board, that's part of an ecosystem. They need to eat something.
They eat their own poop.
Yeah. Okay.
Everything runs on poop. It's the circle of life.
Yeah, that is believable, but you can't eat your own poop. And think that is anything I'd ever say on this podcast.
That's now a sentence you've said.
Yeah. Jewel had a bad time as well. Other than the bat poop, she was also the cause of all the problems, and
this is a really good Jewel episode. I like her a lot here.
Yeah.
That appeal to Dargo, how she just wanted to make an effort to be friends. That's sweet.
It reinforces her as a bad fit for the crew, which is why she's good. I've said this before, I like her because she doesn't fit in, really. None of them particularly like her still. Maybe that'll change after this episode.
I like her more and more as the show goes on. They know how she fits in, or I guess how she doesn't fit in, and they use that. They see her trying to observe people and trying to win them over, and there's plenty of bickering. That's fun. Even in this episode, you get Chiana and Jewel arguing and then dropping John.
Oh, I cringed out at that. It's so silly. Maybe it's because it's mixed into an episode which has a load of justifiable slapstick stuff, but that didn't fit.
It's really broad. How do you not notice a body falling off of a gurney?
Weighs like 80 kilograms or something. 100 kilograms, you'd notice.
There would be a loud slap, and you would feel the weight shift. It doesn't make sense.
It works comically. It just would have made more sense inside the dream world. I think because this episode has that comedic dream world, that kind of slapstick falls on the wrong side of the fence for me.
Okay. I didn't have too much of a problem with it, but I understand that. If that happened in a different episode without this tone and goofiness, I think that would have really annoyed me. I would think, what are you doing? That's not a thing that happens.
They're super strong, so it appears weightless to them no matter how much John weighs.
All right, let's go with that. There is a lot of people talking over each other in this episode.
You mean Chiana and Jewel?
And then Dargo and Pilot, and Dargo and John.
You can fit in twice as much talking if characters all talk at the same time. It's great for character development. Why have conversations sequentially when you can have them in parallel?
It's more economical that way.
Absolutely.
I only pointed out because it happened several times in this one episode, and that was strange to me. Why they made that choice to keep doing it.
It makes things seem tense. The standards of common decency have gone out of the window, so you know it's urgent, therefore tense.
I liked it a lot when Dargo and John did it, because Dargo was really angry and John wasn't able to pacify him, and so they were talking past each other. That I liked. I didn't mind the other ones either. Just weird because it's not something they do all the time.
They have a lot of moments of good dialogue pacing in this show. I remember the episode at the start of the season called Sons and Lovers, where Crichton interrupts Pilot to correct his plan. And Pilot just starts saying the new plan without acknowledging. There's lots of little moments like that where the dialogue is better if people talk at the same time, because that's what happens.
Along those lines, in this episode, Dargo says something and then dismisses it and goes to something else. At the end, he says, I forget exactly, but what was it like when you died? And then he changes it, realizing that's a weird question. Let me try something else. And I really like that because our words don't always come out exactly as we want, and there should be more of that. Not that I demand fidelity to how conversations actually play out, but these moments where they concede that kind of messiness is really good.
There's a balance between meaningful dialogue and realistic dialogue. Realistic dialogue is often lacking in meaning a lot of the time.
Feels like it meanders too much. And
yeah, because you're trying to find the meaning as you go.
They strike a great balance time and time again. Although in this episode, you have long stretches of cartoons without dialogue. And I thought about how that hurts development with Dargo, because we're in John's head, and so Dargo is chasing him in his mind, and John doesn't even know why this is happening, why Dargo is arguing with him. He says it in this episode. So we can't learn anything about Dargo through those moments. But again, it's mostly a comedy episode, and that's fine. And it also reveals stuff about John, I guess, because that's how it's filtered through him. That's his vision of Dargo, but it's just this presence. There's not a lot there. This is intermingled with outside John's head, so there's development there. I don't know what my point is.
I think to pick up the threads, John doesn't really have a deep relationship with Dargo. Dargo's got problems, and John can't really think what might help because all his problems sort of in his mind are just Dargo being annoyed, meaninglessly annoyed. For all that it's a big goof, certainly the ending I thought was very strong. He's an angry, pent-up guy.
In John's eyes, there's more to Dargo than that.
There was a scene where Pilot screamed and covered his face with his hands.
Yeah.
But used all four hands.
It was so quick, I didn't see.
Yeah, he used all of his hand things. Looked really cool. I have some unit news.
Does it have to do with poop?
No, it has to do with frunium.
Oh yeah, the explosives.
A made-up element that's made up from the other made up elements, some of which aren't made up. That's the end of unit news.
Thank you.
I like that there was 3 relics.
Why?
It's just I don't know. There's relics in our time, like if an original copy of Declaration of Independence, say.
Yeah.
Because the first relic was the Luxon Freedom text. And he says, oh, it's unbelievable rare. It'd be cool if it's like, yeah, put in a copy of Declaration of Independence. And you'd be like, yeah, no, not going to get an original of that. And an Orican's prayer amulet. That, remember that time that Dargo met that Orican?
Oh, I didn't even put that together.
The old mystic lady who...
Yeah, the terrible episode.
Yes, it was a bad ep. Yeah, I'm not surprised you didn't put that together. Do you have a quote from this episode?
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to pay our final respects and to say farewell to our dear friend, Commander John Crichton, a schmuck, mule-headed, reckless, and probably brain-dead before I met him.
I was going to berate you if you didn't pick this.
It's difficult to resist Harvey quotes.
There was so much good banter between John and Harvey.
I also loved the stuff about Kirk and Priceline commercials.
Priceline commercials. I've no idea what Priceline is because I guess it's a US thing. So I went and looked at a bunch of William Shatner Priceline commercials. He's not wrong.
The Priceline negotiator.
There's also something charming about the lead in a sci-fi show appealing to Kirk.
Yeah.
Because all sci-fi shows are, or they're not all, but a lot of sci-fi shows are set in Earth's future, and Star Trek is part of Earth's history now. It's a cultural phenomenon, not quite as significant as some other phenomenons, but it's still there.
It's substantial enough.
Yeah, it's not quite up with like Christianity or Islam or something, but it's pretty big. But it's still there's some weird disconnect about the lead in the sci-fi talking about Captain Kirk.
It's not wholly outlandish that he would do that.
It feels like when characters say, "Oh, come on, that only happens on TV shows," or that sort of thing. It seems like a sci-fi show should always exist in a universe where sci-fi isn't a thing. Farscape's always rejected that. Even in the very first episode, he calls the laser guns, or is it he says they shoot little bolts of light or something.
It would feel weird in this show if Star Trek were never referenced, because John is so obsessed with pop culture and just science fiction. He says in this episode, I love science fiction. And so to be a man of science that loves pop culture and science fiction and never to mention Star Trek or Kirk or anything, that would be strange.
Even having a sci-fi show where the main character likes pop culture, or sci-fi specifically, is a bit odd. It shouldn't be, but it kind of is.
It almost feels like they're cheating. As if they're not supposed to do that. It's taboo.
It works. He has referenced Star Trek before. Probably a few times. He mentioned the Federation Starship USS Buttcrack.
I remember Kirk coming up during the battle with that creature thing.
Yeah, that was an erroneous reference, but this one, he's probably more on the money. I get a feeling he probably didn't watch every Star Trek episode. Probably watched it just when it was on. I don't peg John as a Trekkie. But I like that based on how he references Kirk, you can get a feeling for how much Star Trek he's watched.
That's even better.
Like, it's consistent. He doesn't suddenly reference really specific things in Star Trek, because that would not make sense. Also, in the same scene where Scorpius is giving the eulogy, there's that tombstone. It says, "Here lies John Crichton, human astronaut, natural-born loser."
They did the astronaut joke in the cartoons as well. It was on one of the signs that Dargo put up.
Yeah. I think I might get that tombstone text on a t-shirt.
Whoever recognizes it will be very happy.
I really like the phrase "natural-born loser." It's a good summary of John's life so far.
Oh, that's harsh.
Well, he's done okay for himself. But you've even said on this podcast they never get to win on this show.
Maybe one day.
One day they'll get the upper hand. Well, they did rob this Shadow Depository and make it out with a lot of money, so they don't always lose. Even this episode's a minor victory in that they now have a ship that they can kind of fly. And it has all sorts of features. I've lost track now. But it seems pretty strong.
It could take out Moya.
Well, yeah. It's not that impressive, to be fair. Let's go on to the next episode. See where this adventure takes us next.
Maybe John will almost die again.
Maybe John will be dead.
That other John will be dead.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about.
I don't want zombie John.
Well, you've got it. He's dead and alive.
That's not how that works.
That's exactly how it works. On to the next episode.